Favorite fonts. But why? What's the default font on your word processor? If you're using Microsoft Word, it's Calibri. If you're using Google Docs, it's Arial. If you're using Apple Pages, it's Helvetica Neue. Do you notice a similarity between these three fonts? They all belong to the sans serif typeface category, and sans serif fonts are as neutral as you can get. Whether you're writing a report, a ghost story, or a love letter, these fonts won't ruin the vibe. But wait, what about Times New Roman? Isn't every paper supposed to be double-spaced 12-point Times New Roman? Why is that? Let's start there. Times New Roman was born in 1931 when it was commissioned by the British newspaper The Times. But probably the reason why it became so popular is because it was the default font for Microsoft Word up until 2007. And it's a good default, an authoritative and neutral serif font. It's also recommended by the APA, so you really can't go wrong with it. Now take a look at this document. Do you recognize the font? It's Calibri, which you've probably used hundreds of times if you've never changed your default font on Word. But what's important about this document? Remember when I said Times New Roman was the default until 2007 on Word? Calibri was the successor, and it wasn't widely available before then, which led many people to suspect that this document was a forgery because of the date. So why the change? Here's a quote from Joe Friend, a program manager on Word for Office 2007's release. "We believe that more and more documents would never be printed, but would solely be consumed on a digital device." So there you have it, a modern sans serif font which most people associate with screens, replacing a serif font that is associated with printing. Another modern sans serif font is Arial, but it's actually less modern. It's been around since 1982. It was also a Microsoft Core font, but it was a sans serif. Because of that, it was used as the default font for the Microsoft documents that were always meant to be read on screens. For over 15 years, PowerPoint, Excel, and Outlook all had Arial as their default fonts. Calibri took over all the Microsoft defaults, but you can still find Arial lots of places, including as the default font for Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. The other modern sans serif darling is Helvetica. It's the default font on Apple Pages, but it's loved in a lot of other places too, especially among brands. In fact, you could say it's the default font for word marks. It's used by 3M, American Apparel, Verizon, and tons of other brands. And governments love it too. Helvetica is widely used by the US and Canadian governments, and it appears on signage in New York's MTA, Chicago's L, and the Madrid Metro. So now, what's next? Are these going to be the default fonts forever? Are we at the end of font history? Well, no actually. The search is on for the next Microsoft default font. This is an image Microsoft shared in 2021 showcasing the 5 fonts that could become the next Word default: Bierstadt, Grandview, Seaford, Skeena, and Tenorite. Typeface evolves very slowly, but it does evolve, which is great because that means more fonts for us to choose from. So there you have it. That's why you see those 4 fonts so often. All of them are still great choices, but whether you're using a default font or not, make sure it is a choice. Choose your typefaces intentionally.